Hey guys, BJ the Brave here, and back with an update. Actually, we just had some news drop today from EG about this month's balance patch, so wanted to take a look at the nerfs and the buffs with you together for the first time. So, here we go, on the 5th of March, upcoming balance changes. Prepare to lead the hive. So, after analysing the meta report this month, and I'm going to do a separate video on the metadata and the meta, but if you do want to go and have a look at my updated Warlord tier list, I had it pretty close, to be honest. Anyway, back to the balance patch. We are basically, obviously, continuing this theme where EG are trying to encourage, which I think is great, the use of every warlord. The idea of playing Warpforge where every single warlord is viable, to me, that's happy days. You know, that'd be a great game, great meta. So cool that's kind of like their guiding light when they think about these things. Now they do say that the changes are not yet live, time of posting, but you can check out the full list of balance changes in preparation for the new season. So it probably won't be long, a couple of days maybe, and we should get it. All right. So the first one of note is that Uriel Ventris, the ability that was added to start with an extra card, has now been removed. Now, I have to say that Uriel did come out in the top in the legendary division. Uriel did come out with a 60% win rate. Well, it was the most successful warlord. Now, I actually think if your S tier meta deck is running at 60%, I actually think that's pretty healthy. It's not bad. It's certainly way healthier than the Gazgul meta, way healthier than the Ultramarine meta. So I'm a bit sad about this actually. I don't know whether Uriel is really viable as an aggro deck. Like this is a big deal, right? This is like it's a key ingredient to making the Uriel deck work as it did. I feel like now we're going to be asked to bake the cake without the flour. Like, is it still even possible? Because, like, obviously they added a start the game with a card recently to Nemesis, and it didn't work in the Nemesis deck really. It did nothing. But it's very different with Uriel because like it actually enabled an aggro archetype. And honestly, there aren't that many like pure aggro archetypes in Warforged. I think we've talked a little bit about the game being aggro based, but it's not really. It's tempo based. But like real genuine aggro decks, I don't think there are many. And I think the Uriel was a good one, and it wasn't too toxic. So yeah, they lose the card, guys. Now obviously they've still got the 2-drop that draws 2, which is one point of energy cheaper than other factions. So maybe it'll work with that, but I don't know whether this is a little bit overkill. I don't know whether this was necessary, if I'm honest. Hmm, yeah, I'm not sure about that one. But it is what it is. We'll see what happens this season. Now, the Sautekh Dynasty's got some interesting ones. So the first thing is the Chronomancer. The Chronomancer has lost its Orc Nob ability to. It was like a poor man's Orc Nob before, right? It gave flank to other units that were coming on. The problem was it cost 5 energy, so it was very hard to actually combo it, where the Orc Nob only cost 4. It was a bit easier. So what they're doing is, which is a bit more in theme with the Sautekh Dynasty and the Necrons, is that instead now, when you reanimate a troop, give it flank. And in addition to that, the Chronomancer himself has increased its melee attack from 4 to 5. I quite like this change. I've honestly not got my head around how that works, but it's what I like is, first of all, I think the stat increase is good. I think for a 5 energy, I think having the 5 on the Chronomancer, that's good. But I also think that this is interesting, right? Because it plays into the theme of reanimate, and I like that. And so, really interesting. Like, I wonder what happens then when he comes out of Tomb World. That's what I'm thinking about. So it's not a rally effect, is it? I wonder if that'd work. Either way, I kind of like this change. Chronomancer was a little bit meh, so it'll be cool to kind of rethink this legendary card. Now the Sautekh, I can't even say this, Plasma Sight, I think. Basically, it gives the frenzied units +1/+1, but now it gives it +2/+2. So yeah, I still don't think frenzied as a kind of archetype is good. But the Necrons don't have great 2-drops. It might be this is a viable 2-drop, just with the sensible frenzy units that we do play. You know, I mean, if you think about the what's the 4-drop flanker, you think about that coming on. If this Sautekh Plasma Sight is alive and you drop that, that's now a 7 melee, is it? 7 melee, 2 ranged flanker for 4 energy. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Pretty good on the hex destroyer as well. So I don't think by any means this is going to enable like a frenzied archetype, but you might actually see one or two of these played in potentially. I'm not convinced, but it might. But so overall, I think this is kind of like a bit of a meh kind of buff. Obviously, it's a powerful stat increase, but we're talking about a 3 health creature, so it's kind of easy for your opponent to remove. It is a flyer though. Yeah, nice that they're trying to push the frenzied archetype, but I think they need to go further. Hey, the Ghost Arc has increased from 8 to 9, so I'll be bringing out my Ghost Arc deck again. I really want to try that. I want to keep going back to that archetype and keep trying that deck, and I think the Ghost Arc getting a bit stronger is only going to be helpful. Okay, so Sam Harm. So the first one is the nerf the Hemlock Ray Fighter. So they've lowered the blast that the Spirit Stones gave it from 5 to 3. Now, I'm kind of happy about this. I think this is a good nerf because, let's be honest, guys, outside of the Wailing Doom, the only card you ever see in the Eldar is the Hemlock, and that's because for 8 mana, it's pretty broken, right? Like, coming down with... You've got plenty of time to have accumulated the 3 stones by turn 8, and coming down with an 8 attack flanking unit that then does 5 blast. It was incredibly powerful and way overtuned compared to kind of almost any other 8 drop in the game. So I think it's still powerful, like 100% still powerful. But yeah, I think doing the 3 blast is good. I'd have almost liked to see him go a bit further and make it 2 blast and then maybe reduce the stones to like 2 or something like that. But is it worth 3 stones now to get the 3 blast? Probably not. That's the only downside to this, the way that this has worked. You probably just want to use it as an 8 flanker. But yeah, I think this is a pretty sensible nerf. It was able to just take out like mid-range units, never mind blasting the Warlord. So yeah, it was too powerful. I think this is a good change. Okay, the Vengeful Wraithblade lowered the attack from 6 to 5. Yeah, I don't love this because this is a very powerful card, but you do have to have the 2 stones as well, remember. And there's quite a lot of like armored units at the minute in the game, and this is one unit that could kind of like help the Eldar to deal with that. And now it's gone down to 5. It's like lost one of its tools for that. So I don't know that I love this one. I think it's going to mean Eldar are going to struggle even more with armored units. But for those who don't know, Simharm was kind of like the best statistically, probably the best faction last season. So obviously they've seen these 2 as 2 of the key cards, which they are, and they've targeted them. And it's a little bit in line with, like, they've obviously nerfed the Lich Guard in the Necrons. The Wraithblade's kind of got a comparison there. So, yeah. Overall, I'm really happy with the Hemlock toned down. The Vengeful Wraithblade, I'll kind of reserve judgment, really. A little bit sad to see that one, but yeah, maybe, as I say, with its cousins from the other races being nerfed a bit, maybe that's just a bit OP now. Now, High Fleet Leviathan, interesting. This one's got like more buffs than nerfs. So The Alpha Warrior, which is the Terror of Vardengard's talent, has actually received a buff. I did wonder whether they were going to do this, to be honest, because the Terror was obviously a new release, so that you'd expect a lot of hype around it, but actually it's fallen quite flat. It hasn't done particularly well. I had some fun with the Terror and did okay in lower ranks with it. Not really tried it in the top meta, but I think that this ability is very powerful. Like, you can create an insanely large warlord. I think this is just giving it an extra +1. Standard is good because it means, like, in the early game now, it can just do a little bit more without having to have a wide board. So before it used to be really good when you had a wide board, whereas now it's like actually it could be pretty useful. Like a lot of Tyranids would play like an Adrenal Surge early just to remove units. I feel like he doesn't need that anymore with the +2 melee attack instead of +1 that he gets off the bat. So overall, nice to see a little buff for the Terror. He needs it, and hopefully this will encourage people to play with him a bit more. Although I do think that the main problem with the Terror is not so much his ability. It's not so much the Alpha Warrior talent, but more that it lacks synergy within the faction cards. So I'm not sure it really addresses the fundamental problem, but more power to him, literally. Let's see how that goes. Okay, so now the Tervagon's talent has reduced from 1 to 0. I love this, by the way, because first of all, it's the first Warlord ability now that we've got that costs 0. We've not had that in the game, so you just get to do it for free. It obviously is a stratagem, so it has it has synergy with like talent stuff. So I don't know, Spore Assist, for example, you could play like on turn 4, and you could still play this, so you could trigger it. Tervagon was, I think, the worst performing Warlord, so great that they've finally given it something, and let's see if it makes a difference. I have not played Tervagon enough to know whether that's close to making a difference, but certainly a step in the right direction, so I'm happy to see that. Next up, the Apex Predator. This is a 5 energy stratagem, and it just basically made you invulnerable for your turn. It wasn't in your opponent's turn, it was just your turn. Basically all they've added is +2 range attack. I still don't think this card's playable. I don't know what the +2... I know Tyranids struggle with range a little bit, but putting in a card to... Nah, I think 5 is... I just don't think this is going to be... I still don't think this is going to be played. Now, the Hardened Biology. Now, they've changed the description. This is a 3 energy unit, and it used to just give you 2 armor, but now it gives you 2 armor and 2 health on a friendly troop. So your Warlord can't benefit from this. But this is like the ultimate Synapse. This is really interesting, man. Like, think about the 0 cost Synapse unit, like playing that down with a unit, and you already had so you only had to have 1 unit on the board. That gives you a full 3 units. You can make that little 0 cost to have 2 health, +2 health and 2 armor. This is really going to help the Tyranids to cement the board. I think this is a really powerful card now. Like, +2 armor and +2 health, that's really good. That's really synergistic as well. We've had things like +2 melee attack and +3 health, but it's like, well, this really synergizes, right? Armor and health in one card, and giving it to Synapse. I mean, even if you just hit 2 troops, that's really good. And then, last but not least, we've got the Winged Tyrant. Now, the Winged Tyrant used to be, for 9 energy, it used to basically say that whenever you played a stratagem, you drew a card. And people always said, like, the problem with that is that it's way too late in the game to get value from that. This is now completely reworked, because it's basically saying that it has a rally effect, so it's a one-time only, but when you do play the card, the next stratagem this turn costs 0. I think that's really good. This is the kind of thing I want to see from late game cards. Like we talked about how late game cards need to do something on the turn they arrive. So to me that is That is pretty powerful. That is pretty powerful. Like you can imagine playing the Winged Tyrant and playing Bestial Rage for 0, or even more so, High Fleet Leviathan for 0. You know, so there's some really. I'd be really interested to see what types of even something like Tyranid Invasion's suddenly not too bad there. You know, so I'd be interested to see what type of things people come up with. Ravenous Hunger. We've obviously got the big finisher and the Ravenous Hunter. So there's lots of cool things that that could be done there. So yeah, so overall, guys, I think they've really targeted, really trying to bring up the things that weren't very well used. I think the most impactful stuff will be nerfing like the Hemlock. I think Eldar come out of this hurting. Uriel is hurting a little bit too. So we'll probably just see. I think Tyranids are probably the big winner from this patch. And to be honest, Tyranids were in a good place, a decent place anyway. They were sort of like top of tier 2 for me. So I think they're probably going to be the meta now. I think they've definitely come out of this really, really well. So yeah. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think. Are any of these changes you would have done differently or disagree? Love to hear it. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, I will see you very soon with some exciting new material.